honestly reminded me of Monsters Inc. when they have like the code 2319.
Little Man and Mama C.
Oh my god, I haven't filmed in so long, like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but hi. Yes, I have corona or COVID-19 or whatever you want to call it. Yes, I tested positive for COVID. I have it, tested positive in the hospital, no symptoms, so I'm asymptomatic. I've gotten a ton of questions about it since me and my family posted about it on Facebook. So I figured since I'm isolated, bored in the house bored, why not do a video and let y'all know how crazy the hospital was with it and having to move hospitals and how life is with it. So I'm going to be looking down because I had to write down the dates. Don't want to get stuff mixed up. So I was sick for like a week. I don't know if it was, I thought I was just having one of my gastroparesis flare-ups, but I can't say that's what it is for sure because it could have been the virus. I'm not sure. I was throwing up really bad. I never really ran any fever, but I usually end up in the hospital with a flare up because I either get really dehydrated and it throws me into DKA, or I just have DKA, which is, diabetic ketone acidosis. I have a whole video about it. I'll link it. But I was throwing up a lot for like a week, and it was just like my normal gastroparesis flare ups. But the only thing that was different was I kind of lost my smell and my taste. Like, my niece came in a couple times to check in on me, and she was like, oh, your room smells really good, because I had put in a new little wax cube into the wax warmer, but I couldn't smell it, so I was constantly asking Aiden, like, hey, does it smell good in here, or do I need to put a new one in? And he was like, it smells fine, but I couldn't smell it. But no alarms were going off about it. And also I noticed I did kind of lose my taste because I buy Ritz crackers. Sometimes I buy, like, the original ones, but this time I bought the roasted vegetable ones, and those have like a strong taste. They don't taste like the normal crackers, and I had to go back and look and be like, did I accidentally buy the wrong ones? But they were those, but they just tasted like normal Ritz crackers. But I don't, like I said, no alarms were going off, because when I came home from the hospital, I tried them again and I could taste the difference. So my only symptoms really were the loss of smell and the loss of taste. I cannot talk. So like a week in, I called my doctor and I was like, I'm getting really dehydrated from throwing up. I think I'm having another bad flare up. Like, do you want me to go to the emergency room? And he told me, yeah, go ahead. That was on April 24th. So that night, they admitted me. They said I was not in DKA, so I did not need to go to ICU or IMCU. I usually do have to go there because of the insulin drip, because they have to watch your blood sugars super carefully. So I was on a regular floor, and then in the middle of the night at like 2 in the morning, they told me that they retested me and said I was in DKA and that I was going to be moved to IMCU. So I was moved to IMCU at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Then my GI doctor, my stomach doctor, me and her decided that we're going to take out my feeding tube. I'll do a whole video on why, but I've had it for this month will be exactly a year that I've had it, and honestly, it's caused more problems than helping me. So, like I said, I'll get into that in another video, but we're going to take the tube out, which you have to go under surgery for that, and my esophagus needs to be dilated again, so that's another procedure. So right now, for any surgery or any procedure, they're going to test you for corona whether you have symptoms or not. So that's why I was tested. So I was tested on April 26th. To do it, they get a really long Q-tip and they shove it up your nose up to like right here. It's really uncomfortable. It doesn't hurt. It's just really uncomfortable. The nurse let me do it myself because I don't want someone else shoving it up my nose. So I did it, and then we got the results back on April 29th. The nurse came in and he was like, hey, usually the doctors tell you, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know that you did test positive. And I was like, great. And he's like, so you're going to have a different nurse because I can't go into other patients' rooms coming out of your room when you're positive and they're negative. And I was like, I totally understand. So he let me know that, and I didn't see him again. I got a new nurse. The new nurse told me that there was one other person on the floor who tested positive too, so she was the nurse for both of us, and she had to be all suited up and with like goggles, a mask, gloves, and one of those like paper outfits. It honestly reminded me of Monsters Inc. when they have like the code 2319 when he has the sock on him. That's how they were suited up, and she was the only one allowed in my room. Like the people who do like the lunch trays and stuff, they couldn't come in my room. They couldn't even give me a regular tray. They had to give me a paper or plastic tray because they can't even take anything out of your room when you test positive. So they'd give me my tray and I just have to like throw it away. Like the first tray I got was like an hour late because she forgot to bring it to me, and it got cold, and so I asked her, I was like, hey, can you warm this up? And she's like, oh, I can't take anything out of your room. So she just called the kitchen for me, and they sent me a new tray, which that was nice of them. It's when you test positive, everything is different. Like if I obviously wasn't allowed to go into the hallway, but they had to transfer me to the ambulance. I'll get into that in a second. But when I was in the hallway, they had to call it over the whatever, like the speaker thing, like that no one could be in the hallway. They had to shut all the doors, and then once I was in the elevator, I heard them still on the floor, like, okay, clear for people to come out. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, that's that. So my doctor came in, and he told me that I had to be moved to a different hospital because the hospital that I was at, they have like where the babies are and stuff, because you can, they have the nursery and all that, and obviously you don't want the babies to be exposed to it. So I had to be moved to a hospital almost an hour away, and they don't have a nursery or maternity or anything. So that's why I was moved there. Obviously my doctor wasn't going to be my doctor over there, but he told me that it was good that I have it now and it's not killing me, and I can like grow immune to it, instead of the opposite where people are getting it and they can't fight it. But it's good that I have it now and that I don't have symptoms. But if I wasn't going to have the surgeries or procedures, then we would have never known I had it. So I mean, most people that have it don't even know they have it because they don't have symptoms. So it's not like I'm the only one who's like this. Like, you could be living with someone, or your friend that comes over, or whatever, your Uber driver, they could look perfectly fine, but they can be a carrier for it and actually test positive. Ambulance people, they were extra suited up. They are the ones who actually look like the Monsters Inc. characters. But yeah, they're extra suited up. They were super nice. By the time we get to the other hospital, it's like 8:30 p.m. So for some reason, I was in, like, they didn't have me for a regular room. I had to go straight to ICU, which I guess is because they thought I was still on the insulin drip, because I was on the insulin drip until about an hour before the ambulance picked me up. So when we get there, the nurses are all fighting. Like, they're arguing over what they should and shouldn't be doing, and what they should and shouldn't be wearing, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just really awkward. Like, we get there, and they take my stretcher into my room, and my room was right by the nurse's desk. Like, I could see all their computers from where I was. I was in room 2, so I was right there. And the nurse was like, I'm not suited up. Can y'all take her out? Which I understand, but you don't have to be like that. It was really awkward, and I was already feeling really awkward and uncomfortable because I'm at a hospital I've never been at, with nurses I don't know and with nurses who don't know me. So it was just really awkward. They were sitting there all fighting, and I just looked at the EMT, and I was like, are you really leaving me here? And they're like, yeah, all the COVID patients have to come here. But after we got all settled in and everything, my nurses were cooler, so it was just really awkward and uncomfortable at first, though. At the other hospital, they actually call the COVID patients orange patients. I don't know why. Maybe because in orange you wear a jail, and I totally said that backwards. It felt like being in jail. You're locked in a room forever. But anyways, so when there's an orange patient, they have to call it over the speaker too, like orange patient to IMCU, orange patient from emergency room, orange patient, whatever. and there was a special elevator we had to go on, and there was a certain nurse that had to ride the elevator with us, and there was like a key. Like, it was really weird, and it legit was like being in a movie. And anyway, so I was in ICU until about 9 or 10 a.m. the next morning, and then I got moved to the COVID floor, which was the third floor. So all the patients on third floor tested positive for COVID, corona, whatever. And it was the same thing. They were all suited up with the paper outfits. I'll post a picture, put one somewhere if I can find it. Paper trays, everything was the same. Usually nurses have 6 patients. The nurse told me that they had 4 patients because it takes a little longer to go into each room because they have to suit up and then take everything off and throw it away and suit up to the next one. And when I got to the COVID floor, all of my medicines and everything was the same. I just had my nausea medicine, my insulin shots, and acid reflux medicine and pain medicine. But the doctor's plan was just to keep everything the same and get my gastroparesis under control and get my blood sugars under control, and then I was going to go home because right now there's not a treatment for COVID. And so when you're hospitalized for it, it's just to treat your symptoms. So like, I don't have symptoms of it, so there's nothing for them to treat. But like, if you had like where you couldn't breathe and all that, they would treat that, and you'd stay there until those symptoms were better. So she told me that she doesn't know when patients are testing negative because some of them are testing negative within 2-3 days. Some are testing negative some are positive up to 45 days. So I just stayed there long enough until my flare-up was done and we got my blood sugars under control after being on the insulin drip. And she told me to go home and to quarantine and retest in 14 days. So it hasn't been 14 days yet. I'm waiting to retest. Yeah, I'm waiting to retest. But the day that I got discharged is the day that Aiden went and got tested because you have to make an appointment, and there were no appointments ready yet. So the day I got discharged was May 1st. So Aiden got tested May 1st, and they told us that his results would be in within 24 to 48 hours. But his results were not in until May 5th. So I figured while we were waiting that he was negative because you would think if you're positive, they're going to tell you right away like they did with me at the hospital. So his grandpa, because he's staying with his grandparents and his dad until I test negative, he was supposed to get a text with the results, and he just never got it. I kept calling them, and they kept calling the fire station he went to, and I don't know what happened, but finally, May 5th, we found out he was negative, which, thank the Lord. And I told everyone that he'd been around that he was negative. So, yeah, because his grandpa said that because he took him to Galveston to quarantine until we got his results, he said he wasn't going to test until they got his results and if he was positive. So I let everyone know that he was negative. Everyone was happy. I was so happy he was negative because I would feel bad if I got him sick. But he kept telling me, because we've been FaceTiming and like texting and stuff, he's like, I want to be negative, but then in a way I kind of want to be positive so I can quarantine with you and be at home with you. So I miss him, but I am very happy that he's negative. Oh. They didn't do the surgery, obviously. Well, I guess it's not obvious because a lot of people on Facebook are asking me, like, how'd your surgeries go? They can't do them until I test negative. So once I test negative, which I go next week to test, hopefully I'm negative. So whenever I test negative, I just bring them the paperwork that says I'm negative, and then they can do my surgeries. I don't know if they're going to be able to do them at the same time. I doubt it because it's 2 different surgeons. Yeah, they're not going to do it at the same time. I don't know. If you have COVID-19, COVID, corona, the virus, whatever it's being called, just remember that this too shall pass. Like, this is not a forever thing. This is for now. Everything will eventually go back to normal. So if everyone stays calm and positive, it'll make this a lot easier. So if you're bored in the house bored, then check out some of our videos. I got a bunch of health videos. Tired of talking about my health, but those are honestly the ones that do the best. If you have any questions about anything, leave a comment, shoot me a message, whatever. Make sure y'all are using a bunch of hand sanitizer and face mask and stuff. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to say is they did give me a face mask to wear yeah, wear your face mask, and be safe, and be calm and positive, and subscribe to our channel.